First story. My ex lied that he was sexually assaulted and gave me an STD. It's officially been 2 months since me, 23W, and my ex 22M, broke up. When he broke up with me, he said he was sexually assaulted. I didn't want to believe that was a lie because 1. That's extremely sick to lie about, and 2. I've been assaulted a few times before, and he knew how hard it was on me since it happened when I was younger, and he knows the story. So I didn't want to believe he would lie about that, but something didn't feel right and certain things weren't adding up. Anyway, a week after the breakup I ended up contacting him cause something didn't feel right. And after begging and pleading for the truth, he eventually admits that a year in our 2-year relationship, he cheated on me with multiple women. One even being his best friend's ex. Apparently his best friend is cool with it though. His friends knew I was getting cheated on, and I even met a few, and one of them even helped him come up with the sexual assault story. The reason he lied about being assaulted was because one of the girls he cheated on me with gave him an STD. And that was his way of trying to tell me to get tested because he didn't want to admit he'd been cheating on me. Crazy part is I would ask him if he was cheating on me, and he would lie constantly. And the fact he was never gonna tell me the truth, and only broke up with me cause he got an STD. Luckily I was able to cure it since it was chlamydia. But he's still messing with the girl he last cheated on me with, who's also his best friend ex. I know stalking on social media isn't healthy, and I have gotten better at not doing it. But sometimes I feel bitter, because she's calling him her soulmate, and I even reached out to her prior to tell her to get tested and warn her since she didn't know about me. And she didn't seem to care that much. She didn't really care I was cheated on and that I'm trying to help her, which I know it's not her obligation. But it felt like she wanted him so badly she didn't care he got an STD, and could have gave it to either of us. He swears he didn't get it from her, but I believe he did. Now they make tweets about each other, and I know he's probably manipulated her too. Despite me being bitter, I don't want her to get hurt like I did. Since not long ago he said twice he would just cheat on her too if he was to get in a relationship with her, but her tweets make it seem like he treats her so well, just like how he would treat me. Maybe I should be happy if he doesn't treat her badly, because no one deserves to go through what I did. But I still feel so bitter, and that hurts cause I know that's not who I am. I guess I just wanted someone to tell me more on how to move forward. It's like I know how to, yet I feel stuck cause now my trust is damaged. I feel disgusted, and I love my ex, but he honestly makes me feel sick cause what he did was terrible. Second story. Devastated. We broke up on Friday. Please help with guidance. My partner, M32, and I, F28, have been dating for 4 years. We recently did a big cross-country move together 6 months ago. When we arrived, I found a stash of letters from his AP. He was her boss for a few months, but their affair was on-off every couple months for the course of 2023. Majority of it was texting plus sex at her studio BC. She lived in a place connected to his office. Discovering the affair made me realize why he had been telling me he was having second thoughts about our relationship, and why we had been having issues for the past year. The letters were unsettling, obsessive, and made me feel terrible. I say this BC, how can someone who you've never even spent a full 72 hours with, birthdays or shared chores with, make such bold statements? I also don't feel anyone has the place to promise forevers to my partner. I feel they shared any unhealthy love. What also hurt is she reached out to my sibling when things blew up 6 months ago, and swore she had no idea he was in a committed relationship. In fact, she called me then and apologized and said she's a girl's girl who feels terrible she ended up in this position. Prior to any of the affair stuff, I had heard through mutuals that she was sleeping with another boss, so long story short, she has a history with these behaviors. For the past 6 months, we have been working on things, but he did not put in the true work needed for us to heal. I know he loves me, but I cannot fathom how he was able to treat me this way. We started to break up Thursday BC. He said he could not stop thinking of her, and on Friday, he hopped on a plane to profess his love for her. I've sat through therapy with him and given him many other healing tools, books etc. to address his past traumas and emotional wounds. It makes me sick to my stomach. He says he thinks anything is possible BC of her, and that he now is changing, growing through therapy, and having breakthrough, and will work on himself for her. WTF. She sent me his writings 6 months ago of how he said he's obsessed back when she contacted me, and I saw he's truly infatuated with this person. I believe she's playing him too, because she asked my sibling a week ago if we were still together, and my sibling confirmed. She still took him into her place this weekend. It hurts us so much that he up and left me. The lease is in his name, so while he was out of town, I moved all my essentials. I'm devastated. I moved across country with this person and truly see a future with them. We spent each day as best friends and had a blast. We were very close and I feel betrayed. And I don't feel I should have to describe how real our love was. At least up until the affair. We did everything together. I feel that he is behaving as an addict. I don't think what they have is true love. They have a vicious on-off cycle filled with secret sex and no care for consequences. They write things to each other like, I would kill myself to make things perfect for you, and I think of you each waking hour. This sounds like limerence to me, and it sounds so obsessive. I know this isn't my place, but I hope they fail if they date. How can you have a successful, secure relationship that will last if it is built on lies? He even told me when he got to the airport this weekend he was flying to see family. That night, he texted me his greatest love etc., and yet has not said a word to me up to this very moment. I saw tonight he already changed his Instagram to only display pictures of us in groups. Ouch. How could he not even give me a proper breakup? How can he choose to lie to friends, family etc.? I know he thinks he did a grand gesture BC, he believes he is in love. But I pray that he is able to see that he's allowed his affair fog to become his delusional reality. This post might just be a catharsis for me. But do others agree that love isn't just sex? It's not just the honeymoon fun? How could you think you're in love with someone BC of spicy sex and good pillow talk? Outside of his cheating, he has been an incredible partner, and I'm sad to watch him throw away a love that, had it been nourished, would have thrived. I wonder when the AP will burn him? And I hope before she gets the opportunity he wakes up. I know I need to not focus on her and on them and shift my mindset to healing myself. Is it crazy or unrealistic of me to hope he heals in the reasonable future? Is it possible for him to have a redemption story from all these painful decisions he's done to me? I would love to see him heal, and I'd love to have my love and best friend back. Is it crazy of me to want him to earn me back once he has done the work? And is that even a possibility? Am I stupid for holding hope? I hope someone reads this all. I'm having the hardest and saddest time. I miss him so much. Any advice and insight is welcome. Third story. My 30M fiancé, 30F, a nurse, cheated on me with one of her patients. We've been going through a rough patch lately, and this week, she sat me down and told me she needed a break from our relationship to find herself and learn to love herself again. I told her that's as good as a breakup for me, and that I wanted her to be sure this is what she wanted. She said it was unfair of me to give her an ultimatum. We own a house together and have a 3-year-old child, so this has been difficult. As soon as the break talk came up, I grew suspicious and started connecting the dots. She has been taking a lot of overtime lately with the excuse that we need the money for home renovations. And on her night shifts she has been doing her makeup and hair, versus the usual quick shower and ponytail. I asked her if she was seeing or talking to someone else, and she got very defensive, saying things like, "What, you think I'm having a threesome at work with F&M co-worker?" So I let it be, and she continued acting distant and wouldn't let me touch her. I had a gut feeling, so I started snooping in anything I had access to, and found nothing. Then it dawned on me to check the dash cam. Sure enough, there is video from a few days ago of her picking up her male patient far enough away from the hospital while she's on her lunch break. He's about the same age as us and is in there for psychiatric and alcohol-related problems. They went for a drive to somewhere nice and chatted for 30 minutes, ending in a kiss which she didn't object to. Then on her way home from work she called one of her best friends, who is also friends with this patient, and told her about the experience. She sounded happy and even giggled. Now I've confronted her already and got her to admit to it after her repeatedly lying and swearing on our child's life, without showing her the videos. She has since seen the videos but hasn't responded. I told her I was going to report her to the hospital, but she said that I'll only be hurting our child's future if she loses her license. We are finished, but I don't know if I should report her or not. I only care about what's good for my child now. Fourth story. I found out yesterday morning he was having an affair. Just found out yesterday, which happened to be our 6-month wedding anniversary, that he has been cheating on me and has had a girlfriend for the past 6 months. They too just celebrated a 6-month anniversary. He, 31M, and I, 29F, have been together for 9.5 years. We got married on our anniversary in January, and then he left me for about 2 months right after. 3 days before the wedding, he tried to call it off because he felt like we had differences that could possibly not be reconciled. I wanted to push forward with marriage because I half assumed he was having cold feet and was just scared, and half because I was assuring him our differences were not so vast and with counseling we could continue to work on our relationship. After getting married, he said he had no feelings at all for anybody and wanted to isolate himself. He decided we needed to have some time apart but not broken up, just space. Apparently during this time is when he started sleeping with his co-worker, 24F. He says she was there for comfort but it escalated quickly. I found all this out yesterday. He's been hiding a 6-month relationship somehow and I feel like an idiot. He came back to me by March and we went on our supposed honeymoon to Japan, which was awkward and forced for a lot of it. I had no idea at the time he had gotten himself a girlfriend. Since then we have been going to therapy and I thought working on things. We talked about kids and me having PCOS and being scared and a lot of topics, all the while he was telling his girlfriend words and sweet things I'd never heard come from his mouth to me. I always had to beg to be loved how I wanted. Yes, I know I'm pathetic. He always just said he was trying but wasn't good at expressing emotion. The texts I found between them showed otherwise. They would call each other Mia more my love, with every text, profess their love constantly, talk about how they wish it was her with him instead of me, and he promised her soon. He literally told her the previous day I go to sleep of thoughts of you, dream of you, and wake up with you in my mind. Never has he said anything like that to me. Yet now that I found out, he says he never loved her, is begging me not to file for divorce, and I feel like my heart is being ripped out. I don't know what to do. I also don't work because I take care of my elderly mom, and he is the breadwinner, which makes this all the more difficult. I will forever live looking over my shoulder if I stay with him, but I've loved him intensely for the last 9.5 years. I don't know life without him. I've never loved how I love him. I don't know how I'd overcome this. I've been non-stop crying since yesterday morning, but I feel like he has hurt me so much and lied to me every day for 6 months, that not one day of our marriage has been truthful. I'm so lost. Fifth story. Moving out for my own sanity, but still pursuing our. Sorry for the very long-winded post, but I've been a lurker in the sub for a while and have written up several drafts of this that I haven't posted until now. So, I'm going to do my best to catch everyone up with everything that has unfolded so far. I really appreciate any advice. I feel horrible. My brain is mush. I don't even honestly know if I'm posting this to the right sub or even with the correct flair at this point. Even typing this up is an agonizingly draining task currently. but I'm going to do my best because I'm a writer at heart and it's the only thing I know to do at the moment. I'll preface everything with a brief synopsis of our history. WW, 26F, and I, 26M, have known each other for around 15 years. Dated in high school. She was my first girlfriend. Spent some time apart. Rekindled our relationship in 2017 and then pretty quickly got married in 2018. We've both battled with pretty extensive mental issues and traumas over the years due to things from our past and upbringings. But we've always had a very close relationship together and I would call her my best friend. We had a rock-solid relationship until we both got COVID several times. Call it brain fog, affair fog, long COVID or what have you. Point is, it adversely affected both of us mentally and fucked up our communication pretty bad for a while. As we've known each other since we were children, I was always pretty aware of her mental struggles, and over the last 2 or so years, I've watched them worsen. In 2019, I had a bout with mental illness that left me unable to work for a while, but have since recovered through therapy and such and have been working a steady job ever since. She, on the other hand, worsened to the same point in that she had been unable to work and hadn't for about 3 years. But she wasn't going to therapy or anything like that to get better. I was trying my best to provide for us on one income since she had done the same for me in 2019. With the hopes that we could help her work through her struggles through therapy and other methods. In the last several months, though, I noticed a more dramatic shift and felt her pulling away from me, but I couldn't pinpoint what was wrong. In hindsight, it all obviously makes sense now, but given how close we've always been with each other, I truly never would have suspected she'd be capable of cheating prior to now. I approached her with the idea of going to MC during this time and she agreed. We went to a few counseling sessions before D-Day, and in hindsight I can tell she was guilty as she kept dropping hints with comments like, "I don't want there to be any more secrets between us during the sessions." As these things tend to go, shit hit the fan pretty soon after. D-Day was March 8th. I noticed she was more protective of her phone and talking with a close friend of ours very frequently. He was a very close friend as well as business partner of mine. She met him through me. In January, he had started coming over to my house when I was at work to teach her how to use a particular piece of software and give her lessons. I'm an idiot, I know. I asked her if something was going on because things felt off and she denied it. Unfortunately, though she says she was working up the courage to tell me in marriage counseling, the way I actually found out was by going through her phone after we had an argument and I had that gut feeling. She had been having an EANPA with AP, whom I considered a best friend. To say I was shocked by both of them would be an understatement. I also found that she had a ONS with AP's cousin 7 months prior to the affair with AP, which I confirmed through reading the messages. I'll come back to all that. Upon discovery of the messages that night, I woke my wife up and among other things told her to GTFO. It was probably about midnight and I told her I was going to my brother's house. Well, she packed her things and arranged to stay somewhere else. While I was at my brother's, I knew even then that I still loved her, and that I would be willing to pursue her. She texted a while later, and was scared because she couldn't get any other friends or family to answer her so she could go stay somewhere else. I told her obviously I'm not heartless, I wouldn't force her to sleep on the street and that she could stay on the couch. I ended up crashing at my brother's house that night. We spent the next day or two apart and eventually sat down to talk again. She told me that she wanted another chance but knew that it was ultimately up to me to decide our next move. I told her I wanted to give her that chance, but that she would have a lot to prove to me through actions, and she agreed and assured me she would. One of the first things I said was she would need to finally go to IC and get a steady job for the first time in years. She immediately went and got a job and is supposedly scheduling time with a therapist. The ONS was obviously easier for me to wrap my head around. The EANPA with AP lasted for 2 months though. And I actively hung out with both of them together, separately, with friends, for fun, for work, etc. AP was also married by the way, and come to find out they are well known in their circle for this type of thing, a serial cheater. Well known to everybody except me, I suppose. Given that AP was a very close friend and colleague of mine, and their cousin was also relatively close with me, this earth-shattering news obviously didn't sit right with me. I would have never previously expected any of them to be capable of such betrayal. But once AP's own friends started personally reaching out to check on me and told me things like, "I can't believe AP pulled this shit on OBS." Again, the pill became slightly easier to swallow. She, of course, immediately cut off AP and had already cut off ONS several months ago. She also says that she views the affairs as SA and never had any legitimate feelings for them. She says that both APs forced themselves onto her and she didn't know how to say no. But this is where I really struggle because 1. She actively planned every time she met up with them and talked about how much she enjoyed it, sexted with them, etc. Reading all the messages gave me a lot of PTSD. And 2, it happened more than once. Not to mention the way they turned her against me and all the shit talking they all did about me behind my back. How could it be SA if she legitimately wanted it? As I mentioned before, she had a lot of bad things happen to her in childhood which may explain this in some way, but it's simply too difficult for me to understand this part right now. I was going well for the first month or so, but lately it just started to feel more and more like we weren't getting better anymore. As mentioned before, our communication has been fucked up for a long time. WW is autistic and so I've always tried to approach communication with her delicately, but lately I can't shake the feeling that I just feel unwanted and unheard. Anytime I bring up the affairs, I'm just throwing it in her face and punishing her in her eyes. We stopped going to MC in the last month because once the therapist learned about the affair, I felt like we weren't getting anywhere, and that she was trying to make it all about WW, and not focusing on my pain. She would even delve into why WW did it and it always felt like it was coming back to me or something I was doing that caused all of it. I don't think the therapist was very well equipped to deal with infidelity, and I hated feeling like things were being blamed on me. So I stopped and don't even know if I want to find a new MC. The first several years of our marriage, I thought everything was perfect. Sex life was good, communication was good, and we'd always prioritize and make time for one another regardless of what was happening in life. Eventually, after we both got sick, our sex life suffered a lot. We would go many months without any sort of intimacy, and then even when we would have sex I had to initiate it 100% of the time. One of the things I told her as terms for our was I hoped she would be able to initiate again, and so far she still hasn't. This doesn't just apply to sex by the way. Even when she kisses me or hugs me now it feels forced a lot of the time. To be fair, she says the same thing when I initiate these things first too. She'll also say I act like I don't want anything from her, because I don't respond to these things the same way anymore. All I can think is, duck. I mean, I still like when my wife is affectionate to me, but it seems unfair that she expects me to jump for joy when she kisses me now, right? I still feel a lot of love for her, but sometimes I don't feel as keen on kissing her first, for example. Anyway, things have gotten bad enough again to the point that as I type this I'm currently in the process of moving to a new apartment. I regrettably told her a week ago that while I still very much love her and want her in my life, that I can currently feel myself falling out of love with her, and I don't want that to happen. I decided the best thing for myself right now is to move out for 6 months while we continue to heal. It has been very hard living in the same apartment, not only where the affair took place, but also where I feel like we constantly bicker because I don't feel like ours is going well at the moment. She agreed that if I feel like living apart for a while and trying to start over with her is best for me, then that's what we should do. I'll still be living in the same complex as her, so we'll still see each other a lot and she relies on me to get to work. I really do love her a lot still, and at this point know now that nothing she could do to me would ever change that. But here lately, I'm taking things one day, 1 minute at a time. Once she gets into IC, I feel like we'll have a much better shot at this. I don't want to lose her from my life. And if there's a chance we can actually make this work, and it feel like a wonderful relationship where I fall in love with her all over again, I'm willing to take that chance. I guess all I'm hoping to ask and get opinions on here is this: will it ever get easier? Is it possible for us to see success in our if I'm moving out? Has anyone else out there gone through similar situations? I also have some screenshots from some texts we sent back and forth today that I figure I'll share in another post. It's a good example of how I just feel unheard right now. I guess I'm just hoping IC helps her understand what I need from her right now. Sixth story. Husband 35F caught in emotional affair with younger woman 25F. I am 30F and caught my husband, 35M, in an emotional affair with a woman in another state, 25F. This is long so TIA for reading and offering advice. We have been married for 8 years, together for 10 plus years. As all relationships, we have had ups and downs. We have done therapy for over a year to work on communication, and earlier this year, graduated to less frequent sessions, as we were very aligned and happy with our future plans. About a month later, out of the blue things kind of blow up, and he is talking about wanting to be a parent. I am strictly child-free, always have been. Since then he has been distant and things are rocky. He has also been on new medications since beginning of the year to address some mental health diagnoses. I was paying our phone bill recently and noticed how much our minutes usage had gone up. Upon further investigation, he had been calling a number daily for long periods of time for at least 3 months. Records don't go back further. The location of this area code was in a city where he recently traveled for a solo trip away. I looked up the number online and found it belonging to a young woman, 25F, in that city. I confronted him, and he gaslit me at first saying they were friends, but when he realized how much I had figured out, he admitted to emotional cheating and having feelings for her. He also did see her in person on this trip but said they only hugged. I can't believe that is all that happened. He is spending hours on the phone with this woman and has been hiding it from me for months. I have no idea what they talk about. He doesn't reply to my bids for attention, texts, calls, sending memes, songs, inside jokes. While he was on this trip to the city she lives in, I did not hear from him once. I picked him up and dropped him off to and from airport for this trip. He is not on his knees begging me for forgiveness, and getting more information from him about this woman and affair is like pulling teeth, and he begins to blame things on me. We have had one therapy session about it and I said I am only willing to try and mend the relationship if he is 100% truthful and in it wholeheartedly, which is really seems like he is not. I asked him to no longer contact her, but as of this AM, I can see he tried to call her again. Perspective-wise, I make double the income he does and pay most of our bills. I fund all our lavish vacations and most lifestyle wants. Without me, he will be the one struggling for sure. He has told me I am the perfect wife, but then why did this happen? I am obviously heartbroken as I have lived most of my adult life with this person by my side. Is it time for me to accept it as truly over? Seventh story. He cheated with my best friend and keeps fucking up. When is it enough? My husband of 7 years, together for 13, cheated on me with my best friend, his best friend's wife. They met up while I worked overnight evening shifts, 1-3 times per week, meeting in cars in my own home. It occurred on and off for 2 years, including when I was pregnant. D-Day occurred when she couldn't stand us being happy and wanted out of her marriage. My baby was 3 months old when she broke the news. We have been working through it for the sake of our new family, but I keep having staggered discoveries. First, he didn't tell me all the details with any depth. When I emailed and confronted her, I learned for much more. She was cruel and descriptive about their endeavors, and he to this day tells me some things she fabricated, like how the affair went on even after my child was born. She wants us separated because she had asked him several times to leave me and my child for her. I knew she'd contact him again and told him I had to know if she did. He lied to me about answering a call from her 2 weeks after I found out. They had a 15-minute conversation. She still wanted to have a sexual relationship despite me knowing. I found out when she emailed me again, leaving her final message to us. I told him if he lied or did anything else sketchy like that, it would be over. He goes to work and straight home. He gave me his vehicle app to locate his car, since he faked his locations on Find My Friends during the affair. He FaceTimes me when he does late night work. We've talked more than we have in years. He seemed to be doing all the right things. We've had our trials and moments, but we're working through it. Now 6 months out, I am just finding out he made a fake Facebook account and has been looking at her page, and his ex-best friend, and her photos for like 3 months. Now almost every night I'm working. He can't even tell me why. This is a total breach of the little trust I've built back. This is totally self-destructive, and he is a click away from friending her if he wanted, or if she noticed his fake profile. He slipped back into the affair so easily during the moment with her when I was pregnant. I feel like all the months of work was for nothing. I can't keep doing this just because we have a little baby and he is a really good dad, right? I wanted this future with him and our little family, but when do I call it over for good? 8th story. Having a hard time tonight. Crazy situation. Hey all, I just need to vent tonight. It's been 3 weeks since D-Day, and I'm trying to move on but in a terrible situation. Need advice and just to get my story out. Thank you for all the people posting their stories here, it's helped me a lot. Bucklin. So I am 40 meters, with a great career, I make good money, and my common-law spouse, 38F, has been having affairs for the past year and a half. I'll start at the beginning, no idea how long this will go. We have 2 children, 15-year-old boy with severe nonverbal autism. He does not talk, is pretty much a 5-year-old, and a 13-year-old daughter. We've got dealt a tough card with my son, but I thought everything was going fine. My spouse had depression when the kids were little, and she had to get a job at night to get out of the house. So I work 8 hours a day, then come home and look after the kids at night. We see each other a few hours a day, but we are both exhausted usually. Years pass and everything is good. I let my spouse do whatever she wants with friends, and I turn to playing video games for my social life, as I don't mind looking after my son. I let my spouse and daughter go on trips together as my daughter needs a normal experience and not having to deal with her brother all the time. Turns out my wife resented me for this and thinks I didn't want to spend time with her. COVID hits and I fall deeper into being a homebody, and my wife loses her job and goes unemployed for 6 months. Oh, and a month before losing her job, she buys a crazy expensive SUV that I had to help her pay for while unemployed. I tell her she needs to get a job. She gets a job with a professional hockey team. She hates hockey, knows nothing of the culture. After a few months, and realizing she's only working 2 or 3 nights at most a week, gets a second job at a grocery store. This is when she changes her entire look. She never did her hair up and wore makeup. Now she's can't go anywhere dolled up like a model. While I was taking my daughter to sing the national anthems with her school choir, turns out my wife was talking to a 23-year-old hockey player and gets his number. Over the next month or 2 he sends dick pics, and I'm not sure if something physical happens, but 6 months later, he leaves the country with a new contract for another team, and he asks her to move with him. Now I think he was using her and just didn't want her to go public, as it could be bad for him. but I have a hard time not believing it was not physical at some point, as she tells me it was just texts. She at least turned him down. At some point after ending the texts with the hockey player, she starts a physical affair with a 26-year-old stock boy at the grocery store. Now me being an idiot and thinking my spouse of 16 years would never cheat on me, she was coming home smelling like cologne and hair messed up, and later at night, I suspected something but still trusted her. Until a family member calls me and says they saw my spouse out with a guy, and they were looking like a couple. Anyway, to sum it up, she falls asleep, I grab her phone and find out she's having an affair. I then spent the first 2 weeks digging into everything, finding the craziest shit around my house she's been using to sext and so on. Now here's my problem. My son needs 24-hour care, and I cannot work and look after him during the day. Childcare is crazy expensive. I make way more than my spouse, and where I live has no fault separation. I'm currently letting my spouse live in the basement, so she can help me with the kids, but if I could I'd kick her out. I talked to a lawyer in 2 days to find out what needs to happen, but I'm sitting here destroyed. How could she not think about her son, and how hard it's going to be on us all now? I blocked all social medias and I'm deploying Grey Rock. Tonight she's going out and I'm guessing fucking this guy in the back of her SUV. I'm co-signer. She wouldn't have without me. I know it will take me months to get over this and she doesn't seem to care. I hope the lawyers tell me good news and I'm not giving her half my money. The good thing is I own the house. She didn't sign anything and never put a cent into it, so because we are common law and not married, I shouldn't get a fight for that. Thanks for reading. It's been the longest 3 weeks of my life.